Here we are, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Jesus, so what kind of day you've had, but it's been fairly ferocious, I found today. But then I found it's been so fierce for so long, having so much to do constantly. And there's this kind of relationship with this world of doing things that fascinates me. And I think it does all of us because it's something we're all involved in. How do you get yourself to do everything you need to do well and enjoy doing it and not strain yourself doing it in the time that you're meant to do it in? You know, what's the way to do that? How do you see what happens with me? I wake up in the morning and it starts pretty much straight away. Well, no, it doesn't. I mean, after I've done my training, it does start straight away. I wake up and I'm thinking, I've already done the list from the night before, and I have about 8 notebooks on the go at any one time, all with the same list in. It's just like, I want to write it again and a bit neater. There's so much of it, I want to know what, I can't see it all in one go. And I wake up and I look at the list and I think, right, well, shall I start then? And I never do. I mean, the first thing I do is I always go on the roof and I do the Tai Chi, I do the juicing, I do the showering, do the cleaning up stuff, organise everything a little bit if I'm being disciplined enough about it. And then I'll never do what it says on there. It's rare. I mean, maybe once a month I'll actually stick to the agenda I've given myself. If I stuck to it, it would be a lot less stressful, everything would be a lot neater and tidier, but I think I wouldn't be who I am. The creativity probably wouldn't occur. Anyway, that's not the point. It's all about my therapy session, isn't it? How much do you charge for these sessions, by the way? It's more that I'm interested in that world, that level, that realm of what really is essentially, ultimately, dare I say, mere distraction, because we are all transient beings. I mean, none of us are going to be here in this form, at least, forever. And we're passing through, and we're like beautiful flowers in the garden. You know, they come and go in a season. And while we flower, we have our heads totally filled with this. I've got to do this, I've got to do that. The to-do list, well, I mean, I do. I don't know about you, but I do. And driven by this huge impulse to want to create and give of the creation to everybody. And we all do that in our own way. It doesn't matter what your occupation is. Every day you are giving off of the essence of yourself to others, and that's really your gift. That's your gift to the world. That's your function, really. Here is to channel the ineffable beauty that sits in your soul outwards for the benefit of everybody, and in the process of that, make yourself available to receive likewise the beauty from the soul of everyone around. And everything around. In fact, it's even deeper than that, because everyone and everything are expressions of the Tao, the presence, the big one. And that's really what you're doing. You're engaging in a dialogue, if you like, with the presence, with the Tao, whatever you want to call it, as it presents itself in the computer that you're using, the car that you're driving, the road that you're walking on, the shop that you're going into, the person working in the shop, the other customers in the shop, the people on the street, and so on and so on. All of it is the Tao in its myriad disguises, as are you. And so the idea of this dialogue, actually, even that is a bit facile, because there aren't two, there's one, ultimately. But while we're in form and apparently individuated like this, it seems like it's a dialogue, hence why we pray. Like the idea of talking to a divinity, the idea of talking to an angel, a spirit, a guide, or whatever. There does seem to be, or at least let's have dialogue as a device. It's a device by which we can make sense of the connection that we feel. The fact that we're passing through and are only transient beings and are not permanently here can bring on a fear. It can bring on a maudlin sensation. However, when situated properly inside your skin, and we'll talk about that in a minute, the awareness that this is all just temporary makes it a lot more precious and exciting. and more riveting, and therefore far more likely that you'll pay attention and gain full value, as well as give full value, in every single moment, and will not waste a single moment fighting with it, trying to make it different, fighting with yourself, trying to make yourself different. There's a sense of when you sit right in the body, that everything is as it's meant to be. And yeah, things can change, things can improve, but they can do the opposite as well. You can develop aspects of yourself, you can embody aspects of yourself and totally shift the emphasis of your experience and of your influence on everything and everyone around you. Anyhow, this is what I've been thinking about, this transient state that we have and the awareness of it, bringing an appreciation, constant appreciation for being here. What is it we're appreciating? And bear with me being repetitive, but I think it's worthy of it. It's the miracle. It is the miracle of existence, because it is so easy to take it for granted. That's what we do. We take the most glorious, amazing, magnificent manifestations for granted, because we have to, in a way, because it's the way that we cope with this flood of information assailing our senses at any one moment. Anything that we've done and logged as having done, we tend to catalogue it as that's done. It doesn't require a lot of focus, because we need our focus for what we haven't done yet, the things we don't know how to do. And that's fine, but the problem with this, it flattens the experience of being in the moment. And like in Zen, they talk about beginner's mind. That means you look at everything afresh, like you've never seen it before. So you can go to work the same way every day and go numb on the experience of it, or you can do it with beginner's mind and notice different aspects and facets every time that you walk along to the station, or however you get what station, I don't know. Anyway, assuming you're going to get a train, that is, or a bus maybe. So the idea of keeping yourself awake to the miracle of existence is fundamental to the heightened state of energy that I associate with, we call it superhuman, really. It's certainly the transcendent state where you're no longer bogged down in the mundanity of the tedium of the humdrum, like fitting into some sort of trance-like pattern of numbness. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. If you like it, it's fine. It's none of my business. But it seems to be that for me, it would be a real waste of time. And for the reason that I'm aware that I'm not going to be here forever, and relatively, I'm not going to be here for very long at all, because it will have like that. Now, there's another counterbalance to that, and that is that when situated properly in your body, which I'll talk about in a minute, there's an awareness of, a visceral awareness of your eternality, that aspect of you which has always been here watching and will always be here watching. And it was doing it before you were conceived, and it will be doing so, I have to assume, after you've left your body. And I don't know about you, but I've had enough proof of people who passed, leaving me quite distinct messages that were irrefutable, in fact, enough times that I would be, it doesn't matter, it's fine either way. If it's just oblivion, it's just oblivion. I mean, you're not going to know about it, so it doesn't matter, right? That's all it is. But it seems that, I don't know how it works, but in another dimension, this essence of us goes on. And that I remember my Tai Chi master, I remember Dr. Chi way back, I was going to say hundreds of years ago, in London when I was learning Tai Chi as a very young man. And I said something about, we were talking about moves that would kill someone. And there was some joke about him getting killed by the move. And he said, it wouldn't bother him. I said, wouldn't it? He goes, no. I come back the next day. I said, really? Do you know that? He goes, yeah, I know that. And he really didn't know it. He really knew it. So, and I remember it really struck me. That guy really, I don't know, he knows it. He knows it, that guy. And over time, through this practice, I have to say I know it as well. And again, I qualify that with my dad's attitude, which before he died, he didn't give a fuck. I mean, he just said, I'm very happy if it's just the end of it all. That's cool. I've had a beautiful life. It's been amazing. Done, you know, done, it's done. And I love that, the courage of that. And I remember taking stock at that point and thinking, yeah, I don't see it that way. I have a different experience of what occurs. But I really aspire to that courage. And I have it. Because what are you going to do anyway, man? I mean, you can't stop it happening, right? So you go to it like a warrior, brave, open-hearted, not knowing what's going to be, just embracing the mystery. Now, we're talking about leaving the planet, but the same thing applies to every single moment, embracing the mystery of it. We think we know what's going on because we've got a story that describes everything. We base it on things that we've learned from the past. You know, to some extent, that's really helpful. It stops us going insane anyway, mostly. But it's only a story, and it's not really what's going on. It's just a tiny description of a tiny aspect that we're actually aware of in that moment. But in any given moment, this one, for example, there's an entire universe going on, an entire universe. And in the subconscious, we are aware of every aspect of it. From the time it all began, forever and ever, throughout space, we know everything that is going on. But everything. That's what the subconscious does. It receives all the information. And then what we do to be able to function, where we don't need to know everything that's going on in the universe to kind of, you know, walk down the street successfully, the conscious mind filters it all down. And to something that will fit within the parameters of the story that we've concocted to explain reality to ourselves. That's how it works. And when people have breakdowns, it's because their story's breaking down, not them. It's the story breaking down. And it's really painful and scary if you don't know any of this stuff. It's wild. When people talk about being heartbroken, I'm not in any way denying the emotional sensation of that horrible, horrible, horrible pain. But it's not really heartbreak. It is actually a breaking of the story. The parameters of the story were too narrow and they need to broaden out. And that's painful. Stretching like that is painful. But as you know, because you've been through it, I know you have, everyone has, not just heartbreak, I mean, all kinds of pain like that. And you've been forced to, you know, that kind of breakdown thing where you've got to broaden out your parameters. Once you've done it, it's beautiful. That's what makes you grow, broadening your parameters of your story about who you are, about what the world is. And I would say that the best approach would be to not limit any of it with definitions as much as possible, to not seek to draw conclusions about anything until there's something that's totally irrefutable. You know, I mean, excuse the cliched example. You put your hand in a flame, it burns. So unless you want to have a burnt hand, you know not to do that. But when there is any kind of situation that requires some kind of, or seems to require a judgment, that it's always important to suspend an element, a portion of judgment, because you don't really know. None of us really know. And that's what makes it beautiful, because it's a mystery. That's the point. It's a magnificent mystery. And it's a miracle. It's a miracle that any of it's happening at all. And so that's really the thrust of this meeting for me, having not thought about it for a moment, I have to say. Not that I'm being blasé or careless or nonchalant about this. It's a huge privilege for me and a pleasure to be able to connect with you like this. And it's amazing. And thank you for being here. And the reason that I do it, this complex reason. One is I want to give of this wealth of the effect of the practice that I do, and of the privileged position I'm in of helping lots of people and working with the material that will help people, play the music and so on. And so much benefit comes from that to me in terms of awareness views and visions. I want to share that with you to help enrich you. That's instinctual in me. It's also because as I know you do, we all do, are concerned about humanity's passage through. And we know that we're going through an amazingly unprecedented, beautifully exciting, occasionally quite disturbing passage at the moment. This coming towards the end of the Pluto in Capricorn cycle that started in 2008, that lasted the last 15 years, ends in 2023, which was what triggered the financial collapse then, and has then proceeded to trigger all the morphing of all the systems that we've been relying on, the political system, for example. Not so that it could be destroyed, but so it could be renewed. So we're really getting there now. We're on the way. But it requires focus. It requires anyone who's awake and who cares, I think, to apply their intention to the collective to help affect a movement in what appears to be a more healthy direction than not. And it always seems to be teetering on a knife's edge. It could go either way at any moment. And as much as there is this disturbing, perturbing growth of bigoted, xenophobic, hateful, blaming, kind of fascistic trend, there's the growth of that. There's also a huge exponential growth of people flowering, becoming enlightened. And of course it goes all the way across the spectrum. You might get so-called enlightened people being a bit too righteous for your own liking, or people who are apparently really bigoted actually being quite sensible and kind. It goes all over the place. We know that. But what I feel is our duty to do, if we're half awake about all of this, is to inject the qualities we wish to see activated into the mix, i.e., the Gandhi thing being the change you want to see. And for me, I don't know about you, but the qualities that I wish to inject so that they can be activated to the next level into the collective mix are a kind of an awareness of the root of our being. This is for everyone, so that everybody, no matter how given they might be to being distracted by the things of the world, somehow nonetheless gets a sense of the source of their being. Because it's in everybody, obviously. So for the Tao to be activated in everybody, in other words. And because of that, there to be a lessening of the horrible fear and resentment and blaming and prejudice and what have you, to make way for what was happening before the millennium. It was happening. It is possible, a kind of loving attitude, a more tolerant, a wiser way of seeing everything, whereas rather than seeing it in this non-binary fashion that seems so prevalent, this is good, that's bad, you're wrong, I'm right, and everything being reduced to the most absurd kind of oversimplifications, that people start to appreciate that it's not non-binary, it's binary, it's this and that, it's yin and yang, it's right and wrong. Everybody's right and wrong at the same time. Everybody's good and bad at the same time, and so on. And an opening to that new level of non-binary, of binary thinking, and having more fun, like not being so nervous of offending and so ready to be offended, and being willing to sort of acknowledge that everybody, even if you cannot bear the way they are, the way they act, the way they live, or whatever it is, the things they do, that they are family, that everybody is family, no one excluded from the global family. I mean, humanity is a family. And, we know families are difficult, they're not easy. It doesn't mean you're going to get on with them, but at least you'll have a sort of innate, I would like to think, because of that, an innate sense of openness to them, not casting out. It's just that at the beginning, a kind of an openness in the heart to everybody. I'd like to see that happening. And through all of this, the ineffable wisdom that humanity is capable of coming to the fore, and without being righteous, without blaming people and making people feel bad for not doing this or doing that, saying it, the true wisdom, where somehow everyone is accommodated, everyone feels accommodated, everyone feels able to say what they want to say, however reactionary it may be, however rotten it may be, however amazing and loving it may be. People feel safe to express themselves again as humans. And through this, that we, in our higgledy-piggledy messy way, manage to steer ourselves through what is the greatest multi-dimensional challenge that humanity has faced in known history. And what an exciting thing to do, really. That's the other thing of it all. When you're in with the miracle of it all, that knowing that all of it, every politician, the ones that you think are awful around the world, the most right-wing horrible, the most crazy left-wing, whatever it is that you don't like, they are Tao, they're the Tao, throwing its shape in a strange disguise, but it's all the Tao. And it's all the miracle, in other words, all of it. And every aspect that's going on has to be going on. The theatre of life necessitates all aspects of human nature to be expressed. And the ones who are expressing the dark side of it all, the horrible, violent, nasty bit, it's not a nice place to be, that. But somebody's got to do it. It's the way it works in this game of yin and yang. So you have, because of their family, you have compassion for them on that level. It doesn't mean you condone it. It doesn't mean you're saying it's right. Yeah, I'm with them. That's how how it all works at the moment. If you say anything half kind of tolerant, you're with them. And it's not that. It's not that at all. It's just that what that does, it then eases off the warp and the weft of the communicational grid of the collective. A little bit, just eases it off, just enough that there's a little bit more room to breathe for everybody. And when it's like that, people don't feel so like that. They're not so reactive. Because we are suffering from. We're needing to recalibrate to the fact there's so many of us on the planet with relatively few resources now dwindling rapidly. So there's a feeling, everyone feeling a bit constricted. So that's why everyone's reacting like they are. Like, get off my bit of land, this is my bit of land. Because people want space. It's not really the land that they're after, but they really think it is. It's just that physical thing of going, oh, it's better. I can breathe again. I can operate a bit. And that's more of a psychic thing than it is a land-based thing. Anyhow, I think we have an opportunity for entering into an era that is unprecedented in its amazing magnificence. We're going through the birthing troubles at the moment, the growing pains. If you believe in astrology, we've entered the age of Aquarius. It's a 2,000-year age. We're out of the age of Pisces, the age of suffering, or we're in that crossfade at the moment. And the given wisdom is when you enter a new astrological phase, it's turbulent, and we are experiencing that turbulence. And ain't over yet. So that's why it's really important to be centered, to be harnessed to what I consider to be this sanity that the ancient Taoists provided for us. For example, there's other people do it too. Kriya Yoga, for example, is jolly good. A friend of mine reminded me of it the other day. The Yogananda thing. That's really beautiful. So very similar to the Taoists. And of course, there are aspects of Buddhism that are really brilliant, and so on and so forth. But for me, the Taoist way is the one because it's so slick and succinct. And I've spent my whole life kind of, making it slicker and succincter. To make it more available and accessible. First for me, so that I can really get it, and then to pass on to others. But before I launch into a process, like a miracle visualization thing, I would like to invite you to chip in with any questions or comments or requests that you may have and Whirly will take over for this bit. And then, or if you don't have any, that's okay too. Just comment that I don't have any. And then I'll begin to do a thing that will take us, focus us together. Because when we combine our energy, when we have an intention together, say to inject qualities like I was describing, are the ones that you'd like to see, into the mix, for sure there is an effect. For sure there's an effect. You can almost feel it or see it in views within days. Things shift, things ease up, things become a bit lighter, more humorous, whatever. Oh, one more thing though to remember, in the theatre of the world, it's a hall of mirrors, and halls of mirrors, as you know, are totally distorted. When you look at, you go around a hall of mirrors, it's all distorted imagery. Nothing is as it seems here. Nothing is as it seems. Mostly it's the total opposite. And that's another reason why it's wise to desist from drawing conclusions about anything until you really, really, really have to. I.e., keep an open mind, because anything can happen. And everything morphs. It morphs according to your effects on it as well. And now over to Whirly and you.
Oops. Hey, Barefoot. I'm here.
Hey, Whirly.
Hey, Barefoot. There's no questions at the moment. Sam says good evening to everyone. Lots of love.
Good evening. Good evening.
And that's it at the moment.
Okay,
everyone's
good.
Quietly listening, I think.
Yeah, if it gets too much, thank you. If you find it too much and you need me to pause, just message pause, and Whirly will tell me, she'll cut in. I'm quite happy with that. If you need a little bit of time to hear what I'm saying. But otherwise, let's go. So this is the shift of state that we're going to expect. It's not important, the physical posture, as much as it is what goes on inside. But it does help if you find yourself sitting relatively balanced on your two sit bones. You don't have to sort of sit up straight, be giddy about it, really. Just be relaxed. But get a feeling of the crown of your head lifting itself upwards towards the sky. Get a feeling of the crown of your head seeking the sky. And that has the effect, very subtly, of lifting the whole of the spinal column up away from the sacrum. In other words, it elongates it, gives a bit more space between the vertebrae. That gives a sense of lightness to the whole body, because your spine is the basis of your physical form. It's the main strut that everything hangs around. And become aware that the spine as an object is right in the back of you. I'll say this, it's important. And the spine is what you originally were in the womb when you first started forming cells. The first kind of physical shape that happened was the spine. And then the rest of you kind of grew out from there. But not just you, I mean me, everyone. And that means that the original physical self is the spine, the back, in other words. And the front really comes majorly into play as you grow through infancy into childhood, or whatever that's called. You start school, and you have to start operating to get the approval of the teachers and the other kids around you. So it's exacting and it's exciting and frightening and the rest of it. Your sense organs will face forward, so you perceive it occurring in front of you. So you're naturally drawn forwards inside your body to come and meet it. And most people, because the whole thing's so enticing, forget to go back again. Other than at moments when dancing or singing or hanging out with people, whatever it is, where you're really centered and relaxed, then you'll be in your back. And what we're doing here, the Taoist thing, is you just go straight in the back, and then that makes you be in peak mode immediately. And it makes sense, because the weight of the body is in the back. I mean, it should be in the back. That's where the main support is. So you can go with that, conform with that, and allow the weight of your being to drift backwards and find itself mostly collected in the back of you. And take a moment to appreciate that. You've got the weight of your being is moved into the back of you. It's moved into your back. And you become aware of your back. this amazing, wonderful space that normally we totally ignore. And it's got all the weight of your person in it, so it feels quite nice and heavy. It's connecting with the ground through your sit bones. And that feels good, because the ground is the most solid thing there is around here. And that, as you know, is basically the surface of a nuclear-powered spaceship called the Earth, which is zooming around the sun at 66,000 miles an hour as we speak. For real, 19 miles a second, 100 and something thousand kilometers an hour. And yet we don't feel a thing because it's spinning on its axis at 1,000 miles an hour. And the miracle is we don't fall off, and that's called gravity. So we are honouring the miracle of gravity for a start by allowing our weight to sink. But we don't slump because the crown is seeking the sky, and that exerts a counterpull upwards, which is important because upright means dignified, literally. So you have your dignity when your spine is naked. And talking of dignity, its cousin courage, nobility of spirit, occurs by opening up the heart in the front of you. That's done by many ways. One way is to picture the two halves of your breastbone separating and opening sideways like a pair of sliding doors or a pair of French doors to reveal your heart in the middle there. This is the locus of your beauty, your inner beauty, the beauty of your soul. You know, all the delight that you've ever felt, all the kindness you've ever experienced from others and have experienced giving to others, all the sweetness, the poignancy of connecting with people, the poignancy of the separation of people, the love that informs all of that is what is stored in the middle of your chest and is also released from there. We learn to cover it over, of course, as children, because the natural inclination to be kind to a child is often met with being taken advantage of by other children and so on. That's because that's the way it is. And so we tend to close it over from the pain of that. But we must be bold and courageous and keep opening it. Because it's only through this transfer of love from you to the others and from them into you that we really feel free of that horrible loneliness, that we really feel connected with all that is. And from that comes constant succor and sustenance without needing to get validation from other people, without needing to get love or to get attention or energy from other people, because you're getting it and giving it to the whole, from and to the whole universe. But that's not a theory, it's not an abstract conceit. It's something you feel viscerally with the heart open, but only if you're sitting back behind it all. So you're not involved in the drama of it all. You're sitting back in the back of you and the heart is open in the front. And you feel the love flowing between you and everyone, and them with you. And the breathing, set your breathing free now. Yeah, so I mean, take the clamp off your breathing. Let the diaphragm soften, set the breathing free. Like a baby, breathing naturally, very important. And as that happens, become aware of all the muscles of your body and allow them to soften. In other words, set them free. Set your muscles free. Stop gripping them. While you're doing all this, aware that the blood is starting to flow more freely, therefore making you healthier. The energy, the life force is moving through you with less impedance. You become simultaneously aware that all of this, the blood, the energy, the awareness of it all, the breath, the lungs, the skin, the flesh, the bones, the spine, the weight, the gravity, the planet, all of it is a miracle. All of it is a miracle. The fact that we're here, that you're here, that I'm here, that we're here to experience this, to talk about it, this is a miracle. It's a miracle. All of it. A massive, huge, unfathomable trick of the light. That's what miracle is. And with the mind, that thinking process, that is usually gathered in front of the brain, where all the stories going on. Give it a break and allow it to sit where it really belongs, at the back of the head instead. So your skull is like a cave, a sacred cave. And at the back of the cave, the rear wall of the cave is the rear wall of your skull. You picture a lovely pile of cushions that someone's left there for you, and you get up out the front of your brain. It looks like a little Buddha with your face on it, and walk to the back of the cave. Sit yourself down on the pile of cushions. Lean back into the rear wall of the cave and gaze from there through the midbrain and through the center of the forehead out into infinity. And you'll notice as you breathe with your heart open and your mind retracted to the back of the brain like this, gazing into infinity, there's a remarkable serenity occurring. There's a silence, a stillness, which is not normally there. The noise of the storytelling that goes on in the foreground and the emotional reactions to those stories has quieted down appreciably enough to almost say it's gone for this moment. But this is meditation. That's what meditating does. That's what it means. You are now in a state of meditation. The idea of the Taoist way is that you take this state with you always. So even while I'm talking to you, I'm meditating. Even while you're walking down the street, you're meditating. It doesn't mean that you're not engaging. It doesn't mean that you're not awake to what's occurring, that you're not connecting. But you're totally meditating while you're doing it, rather than being lost in it. In other words, you remain in your back the whole time, bearing witness to, accommodating, presiding over the experience of being human, which goes on exclusively in the front part of you. And you'll notice that as you increasingly assemble yourself in the back of you, you somehow spontaneously burst through the barriers of the physical body, so that you're not only occupying your back, you're occupying the space behind your back as well, and somehow above you, because once freed from the imaginary confines of the physical form, the spirit, which is what this is infinitely huge. So there's this feeling of being backed up and somehow overseen by a massive, massive presence, and that's you. That's the real you. The front part is that's it. It's all it is. It's the front. It's the bit that shows itself to the world. But it's merely the tip of the iceberg, and the presence you really are is infinitely huge. And you can feel it now. That's the Tao. That's who you are. It's who we all are. And there's a feeling of quite naturally wanting to sink back further and further into its loving embrace. And don't stop yourself. This is called the backward flowing motion. It's considered to be one of the main keys to the whole game here. Allowing yourself now to flow backwards and backwards inside. You're allowing yourself to do the total opposite of what we're conditioned to do, which is to rush forwards. But all that achieves is a big rush, missing out on everything, the value of everything as you go, and then die and wonder why you wasted it all. Whereas the backward flowing motion, you expand time, you expand space, you expand your experience. And in doing that, you are somehow including in your expansion all the things that you want in your life. So rather than rushing towards getting something, you're now flowing backwards and drawing everything to you. Well, you're flowing backwards and getting bigger and bigger, and the size of you by and by encompasses more and more of the world's gifts that are on offer for you. So all the people that you want to meet, the opportunities that you want, the success that you'd like, the security that you want to organize for yourself, everything that you want in your life is becoming encompassed in the size of you, because you're growing bigger and bigger. You're encompassing it in your sphere. So you're not having to rush out to get it. You're just expanding to include it. And then it manifests for you in real time of itself. Now, it'd be good to take a moment to focus on discerning the nature, the tone of what your intention is. And I say that because the less specific it can be, the better. The intention is an expression of the true nature, the inner child. And it wants something that you can't really put in words. It wants the beauty of life to continue to grow and grow and grow. It wants everything to be wonderful. It wants to feel wonderful. It wants everyone to feel wonderful. It wants everything to be wonderful. But as soon as you put that in words, it becomes a bit trite. So it's not necessary to give it words, the intention. It's to feel it, though. The thing that's driving you, what is that that's driving you? It's that joyful, gleeful curiosity, the fascination that drives you. Feel it. Allow yourself to feel it, just as you did when you were 3 years old, 4 years old. And you'll notice that energizes the whole system. There's a feeling of being immediately enlivened by it. And then knowing that as soon as you become clear on feeling that, situated correctly within yourself, you are triggering, you're activating a flow of manifestations that will occur now. Things that you need will start coming into your sphere because you've expanded to include them. And that's beautiful. You're receiving the blessings of life, as it should be, as I wish for you and for everybody. But to make the magic really work, to really trigger the miracle for yourself in your life, the activator is to wish this goodness to the world, wish this for everybody. And that can be done in many different ways. It could be done, I wish this for everybody, and leave it at that. But for it to really have impacts, it helps to visualize. And if we do this together, and I'm not aware of how many people there are, but I mean, a lot of people signed up to this. So I know they're from all over the world. I'm assuming there's a big circle of us around the planet here. And even if you catch this afterwards, it's still in a way you're joining in with the same energy circuit. So we picture ourselves like a whole massive troop of, let's call them archangels, massive angels, massive angelic beings, hovering in a circle, holding hands, maybe let's say doing a nice circle dance like in Zorba the Greek, in another dimension around the region of the planet. We're in space, sort of outside the atmosphere of the planet. We're that big that we can hold hands together and completely encircle the Earth's atmosphere. Imagine that. That's how big we are. Because we are. I mean, I'm talking about the big presence of us. I mean, it's bigger than that even, you know. And so from the big presence that sits behind you, what Taoists call your guardian, and picturing all of us doing that, start to breathe in and out directly through the middle of your chest. And as you do, let the breath be pumping out a stream of rose gold, very intense, but discreet rose gold light to symbolize your love, your beauty. And this rose gold light has a gorgeous fragrance to it. And the quality of the light particles like precious jewels. And it moves from you like a multi-directional blessing to the world, a gift of love to every sentient being on the planet right now, each to do what they want with, even though they're probably very unlikely to even know it's occurred for them. We are together streaming this rose gold light, each of us through the center of our chest, down onto the surface of the planet. And you can see it there, all green and blue and the white clouds and all the rest, swirling about, spinning on its axis. And, you know, half of it dark, half of it light, half the people asleep, half the people awake, so to speak. And all the activity and all the action, all those lights that come on all over the place at night, and the motion of the clouds, and knowing that all the nearly 9 billion people on the surface of the planet and elsewhere in the air, underground, in the sea, whatever, all of them are going through this incredible process of being a human being, with all its difficulties and all its joys. Everyone, without exception, no matter who. And everyone's struggling without exception, no matter who, to varying degrees all the time. And what we do, we're channeling this love, this beauty, which is healing, together, therefore exponentially multiplying its power. And it's splashing down on the surface of the planet, thence to move everywhere like a fast-moving tide, until the whole of the surface of the planet is covered, is enveloped in it. And that means that every single living being, not just the people, but every living being, is being suffused with this beautiful, healing, rose gold light, this love, at this very moment. Not in our imagination, we're seeing it happening right now. And in being suffused with this love, which goes right down to the cellular level, something triggers in everybody a memory of, oh, yeah, no, I remember where I come from and what I am. And that very subtle trigger is activated in everybody, so that there's a new phase of the enlightenment flowering again is initiated. And for anyone who's awake, who's receptive, whose vibration is high enough, as this rose gold light that these archangels, us, are sending, suffuses, penetrates to the cellular level of anyone who's awake, it will activate the next level of what I call the miracle flow, this awareness of the miracle, and through the awareness of the miracle, the increasing flow of miraculous events in their lives. So there's a beautiful feeling. We're sending this magic substance to everyone on the planet, that whoever they are, that they'll be benefited by it to varying degrees depending on their current state of evolution or the frequency they're vibrating at. And bearing that in mind and letting that continue on its own, remember you are a person on the planet, I am, we all are, and get a feeling of now being recipient to it at the same time. You get a feeling that you're sitting where you are, and there's a whole circle of these kind of angelic beings around the atmosphere of the planet. All of them are beaming this beautiful love down, and they're aware of you, and they're doing it for you especially, just like they are for everybody else. And in that, you're feeling this infusion of rose gold light moving through your body to a cellular level, all the way down to your bone marrow, until your whole body feels like it's tingling with this light. And that means you have now activated the next level of the miracle flow. And without further ado, wriggle your fingers, wriggle your ears, wriggle your toes, and wriggle your nose. Flutter your eyelids and bring yourself, with your back in it, back into the waking state in your own time.
Oh, thank you, Barefoot. That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Welcome. Thank you. There's a question from Elizabeth Rokowski. She says, I feel my chest and heart area in front as an area of turmoil and fear. The back is beautiful, but the front stays as a bad area. Any advice?
Hi, Elizabeth. That is a good question, Matt. There's many ways of dealing with that. But let's go physical to start with. And we can always continue this conversation by email as you like. You take your feet, everyone try this, you do this on your chest. And as you do it, you go, oh, and really enjoy it, keep doing it. Oh. And then you take yourself by surprise by stopping suddenly, and then you wait. Might need a little bit more, but yeah, no, about right now, you'll get this kind of subtle kind of effluence of energy moving through the chest. It's one way. The finger goes into the center of the chest, and you turn it in a clockwise direction, quite firmly, but not brutally. And that helps to unwind the chest. The wrist, you see where my watch kind of is, wherever your watch is, you press in between the two tendons quite firmly there. Ooh, it's kind of achy, and then you do it on the other side as well. Between the tendons, press in. So you get the ache, and then you let it go. And within 10 minutes of that, your chest will open out as well. It also helps regulate your heart beat. But there also needs to be some work done on what you're holding around the field there as well. Memories that need, because remember the heart is all about memory and your relationship with your own story. There are elements of your story that I would imagine you're not at peace with yet. They need to be embraced and somehow included in the repertoire without cringing, that where you can hold the memory and go, yes, it's okay. I think that's what there's a residue of there that needs clearing. I'm very happy to talk with you specifically about it on email if you want to.
Okay, thank you, Barefoot. Marcia White says, fantastic, thank you for the visualization and everything I gather. Why do we get pain in shoulders when stressed, overloaded? How can we release the pain? And thank you.
Hi, Marcia, you're welcome. Well, I mean, obviously, I'd need to see you to really kind of be able to answer that properly, because it could be coming from all sorts of, I mean, it's postural for a start. How we hold the spine, if it's a bit to one side, a bit forward, a bit backwards, when typing, all that stuff. But really putting it simply, we pull the shoulders up round the ears to protect ourselves against danger. It kind of makes sense. You're protecting your throat and all of that. And it's a kind of like on guard position, which we kind of revert to at the drop of a hat, even though it dates back to the hunter-gatherer days. We don't really need it most of the time. And anyway, as a martial artist, you learn that you don't want to be doing that, and it doesn't really work. You want to keep them down at different stance. But we do that to protect ourselves against danger, and also to kind of pull ourselves away from the ground. In other words, pull ourselves away from the mess of being human on Earth, that what goes on down there on the ground. We're pulling away from reality in a way. Another way of putting it is that, you know, that the idea that you carry the burden of your life story on your shoulders, so they get a bit tight. Bearing this in mind, the gallbladder, which sits in between the two lobes of the liver, its energy meridians go up through the shoulders into the back of the head and over to the eyes. The gallbladder very much to do with, I want this, no, I want that, no, do I want this, no, come on, what am I going to do? Do I do this, do I do that? The whole choice-making process, is the energy for that, it derives from the gallbladder. And when there's a lot of trouble making choices, or when your whole relationship with choice-making is fraught, that would indicate and also cause gallbladder heat. And the gallbladder heat rises, goes into the shoulders and causes that as well, because it's kind of like, I don't know what to do, I don't know what I want, I don't know where I am, what am I doing here? That whole thing, that's part of that as well. How you release it, well, okay, one way, put your hand under your ribs on the right side, put the other hand on top of it and press in a little bit. That's kind of in the middle there, roughly gallbladder, and you'll get a bit of a nauseating, kind of winded feeling. Keep going with it, keep pushing, and breathing, and breathing, and breathing, and breathing. Keep pushing, and then release suddenly. Breathe, wait a moment or two, and you'll notice a kind of a clarity, a fluency of energy running through the back and the back of the head. You press with your fingers or thumbs at the base of the skull, either side of the spine. Under the skull, there's a couple of areas it's quite natural dense. You go into the muscle. Don't be brutal about it. Just press like you're hanging out like that, and then release it slowly, and then wait, and you'll feel kind of this helps with migraines obviously as well, and headaches and so on. And there's lots of moves you can make. For example, make fists, and using all the strength in your body, punch slowly forwards. As you do, turn your head to the left, then you bring the fist back, and again, punch very slowly with all your strength. And as you do, you turn your head to the right, and then you come back again to the middle, and then you wait a moment and take a breath. And then you become aware of your shoulders, you can feel them. The next thing is to visualize them separating. So the two shoulders go out to the sides, and as they separate, as they broaden, they drop. And that's kind of it. You just kind of feel them broadening and dropping. And there's loads of techniques and exercises and moves you can do for it to help it along, but it really does essentially come down to commanding. Like setting them free, set your shoulder blades free. Let them go out to the side, broaden out across the back. You know, you broaden it out. Yeah, like that. I hope that helps a bit, Marcia.
Okay, thank you, Barefoot. There's no other questions at the moment or comments.
Okay. Well, unless anyone jumps in with a quick one, I think this is the moment for me to say, oh, look, there's one. I can see one coming in. What's that?
Teresa Ike says, thank you for a perfect meditation, Stephen, from me and one elderly cat on the lap. Love to everyone.
Hey, thanks. It's lovely that you were here. I like Teresa Ike. I think it's Teresa Ike, isn't it? It's lovely. Thank you.
And Marcia says, thank you. Brilliant. From about the shoulder pain.
You're welcome.
And I can relate to the cat. Sorry.
You can relate to the cat, yeah. You got that going on as well.
I do.
Thank you, Worley, for doing this and for doing everything you do. You are utterly brilliant. And yeah, thanks everybody if you donated in the crowdfunding. If you haven't, do it, because it's going to get them to flag it up, and then it was work, that whole crowdfunding thing, which would be amazing. And thank you for everyone who's already done it. It's brilliant. Thank you for being here with me, and thanks for giving me this privilege of guiding this stuff. And I wish you with all my heart the most unprecedented flow of beautiful surprises henceforth, and we will meet again in a month or so. Thank you, and bye.